Hello, Tungsten Miner here. So last time I left off, I was cleaning up this area on this hilltop here in order to make a new building on the top of it, castle or something like that. So I finished that process off with my filler and then went around with my shovel and cleaned up the borders and trimmed the edges and got rid of some of the plant life. And then the next step is to lay out some idea of a floor plan. So what I've got right now is this. You can see I took the natural contours that were left over from flattening out the hilltop and drew out some rough idea of what shapes might make up a building that could go here. And really all I was trying to do is to take the contours and to lay out some geometric shapes which fit into the space that was left behind when I did that. And you can see in some cases, like right over here, or over here on this edge, I wanted to round off that shape, and so in order to do that I needed to fill out the terrain a little bit. And fortunately I had a couple of chests full of dirt that made that pretty easy to do. And so I took some of the dirt that I had left over and filled in around the corners to produce a smooth slope. Over here a little bit, over in this corner a little bit, so that nowhere did I have to add so much terrain or leave things in a state where it looks kind of funny and unnatural. And wherever possible, I left the natural features alone. So over here, this little extra lump and this jagged edge is all pretty much exactly as I left it. I also wanted to point out that there are some caves in this system here, and I had talked a little bit about iron ore and how it's distributed, and in the last video, and I wanted to show how I go about mining this stuff. So I've got my hammer, and what I wind up doing is just picking the blocks as they're furthest away and breaking them, and just keep picking the one that's kind of deepest into whatever place it is that I'm dealing with. And that way, as I'm going in, I'm breaking up more and more blocks around the edges of where I was working before. And that way I'm more likely to open up more of the ore, which may or may not be directly adjacent to a block that I've got already. But if I break up a little bit beyond where I had seen the little latest piece of ore, then there's more of a chance that I'll expose another piece somewhere that I maybe wouldn't have seen before. So like in this case here. Okay, so I've got, I think it looks like all of the ore in that little pocket. And I actually did find another piece of ore, another ore deposit in a cave over here, which I've since filled in that cave. Because of course, if I'm going to be making a big structure here, I don't want a cave system that's spawning monsters and dumping them out on me all day long. So now that I've got the valuable ore out of that cave system, I'll probably just block it up so that I can then make it part of the grounds around this building, whatever this building winds up being. The second thing, or the next thing I guess, that I want to look at is how am I going to get from here to other interesting places. So I've got my map, and I'm on the top of this hill right here. So the other interesting places to get to are basically going to be my home over here, the village that we've got nearby, the spawn point, which is up here, and then my two friends' houses here and here. So the thing that seems like maybe what I'd want to do is to think about having a road that runs down here and then goes across here, or maybe extend this road down here and throw a bridge across here and have a road that kind of makes its way up to the hilltop here. So whichever way I wind up going, I'm going to wind up with some kind of bridge crossing here and then meeting up with a roadway either there or over there or something like that. Probably over here, and that way I don't have too much duplication of the roadway. And you can kind of see from the contour map that this is a really hilly area. So extending this road south through here is going to go down a really steep hill, whereas doing it over here, it's still kind of a steep hill, but it's a bit more even, and it has less far to go to get down here. And then this is the narrowest point of that little bay, so it's the easiest place to cross over. And then not too difficult to follow that track back up again around through here. So as I think the road coming up in this direction, here's kind of a flattish area here, which might serve as maybe a patio, maybe a flower garden, maybe a vegetable garden, maybe just sort of a grand entranceway, which kind of means this room right here is looking like my entranceway. So maybe some steps leading up here and coming into this room from a patio garden area down here, and then a road heading off in this direction. So that gives me some interesting things. The other thing I notice is this little peak here is just about at the same altitude as the rest of this building is going to wind up being. So maybe it'll be interesting to have like a tower here, which is going to be further along the road, right? So maybe it's a sort of watchtower, and I'll have maybe a bridge going over, a nice big arched bridge or something coming across this little gap, so that from this room here, you get over to the watchtower here. And maybe that's another area to flatten out. So a little bit more thinking to do as far as the layout and the approach and the grounds. I also need to think about what parts of this building are going to come up to what altitude. Right, so I've got kind of a nice rounded nook over here. So that speaks to having a room that maybe serves a more decorative function with some big windows looking off over this forested area. This room here is going to be kind of the back end of the building, right? So maybe what I want over here is a space for some bigger machinery or other tools. Maybe this is kind of a big workroom or a big storage room. So that's that. This one's got this interesting angle, so I need to think about, do I extend this wall across and block off that angle? And if not, what do I do with that angle? Over here, so this is the entrance hallway here, which probably means I'm going to be thinking about like some maybe decorative elements, maybe some chandelier, maybe I've got a big staircase that leads you to the second floor. So maybe, there's a big stairway that starts in the center and leads up and around. And that way this first floor area is more utilitarian, because you basically follow the stairwell up into a more decorated space on the second floor of this here. And then, of course, thinking about what do I do with all of these rooms back here, because you're going to come off of the grand hallway here, and then it's room, 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 room in order to get all the way back here. So these are things that maybe are accessed a little bit less frequently. Thinking through kind of the usage of the space and the architecture of the building, and trying to combine the decorative element and the functional element, and try to figure out what's the best place to have all of these different spaces. And of course thinking through too that unlike my original house in this world, I don't have a lot of flat ground around me. That's one of the reasons I chose that spot as where I wanted to start that first house, is I knew that even with having chosen the house I did and having it as big as I did, I had lots and lots of room to keep expanding. And really the only other flat ground that's nearby is what I've got right over here. So that little space there is kind of the only flat ground. Apart from that, this all goes downhill pretty darn quickly in more or less every direction. So I'd need to invest in flattening some things out, or trying to figure out a different way to do things if I wanted to have something that required a lot more space to operate. Anyway, I'm going to go do some more thinking and perhaps sketch out what the second story of this building will look like. And I will be back with you in a moment. Okay, after a little more thinking, I have broken up the internal spaces a little bit more. And I've carved out some entrances for where doorways might be. So I'm thinking about like the traffic flow through the building. Thinking that people would come in the main entrance here, and there'd be a kind of grand staircase that goes up the center and then splits into half. And underneath that, you'd be able to walk through the doorways into this big room here, which I'm kind of thinking is going to be like a big warehousey sort of room. This is going to be a spiral staircase going up and down. This will be a spiral staircase going up. Over here, some kind of useful room. Haven't really thought about what that might be. A little bit of a corridor that goes down through, around, and then off into the back there. This will be another spiral staircase, another room, another room, another room, another room. Haven't really decided what those rooms would be for, but their placement puts them in a good spot to be able to have whatever utility, and just decide what that's going to be at a later time. Kind of thinking I want this corridor to be pretty well open. And then, this would probably have a bunch of windows facing this direction. So that when you get down to the end here, we could have more windows, more windows. So thinking there would be a lot of windows to keep the nice view. And then this outdoor area, or this would wind up being, I think, an outdoor area that maybe has some nice tile work, maybe a little bit of a railing. Think through something or another to make this space useful, and to be able to preserve this as a staircase area, because it's one of the things that I have most often found that I've forgotten about in producing different buildings is you want to get up and down between the different floors, and if there's only one way to do that and it's at the far end of the house, it's actually kind of annoying. So this one I'm thinking like, okay, if I'm in this room, I'd have to come down and around through here to go upstairs. If I'm in this room, I just come over here. If I'm in this main room, or if I'm in this room or this room, I can easily enough just go over there. And if I'm in any of these three rooms, then I can go here. So at no point am I going more than 20 meters or so-ish to get to a staircase. And that's kind of what I want. But I don't want to spend a lot of space on staircases per se. So trying to keep them somewhat limited. And I found there's a pretty good design actually for making spiral staircases fit in a 3x3 space. So the next bit is to do a little bit of thinking about what is the profile of the building going to look like? How tall are the different floors? What shapes are the roofs? And how does everything come together? And I'll usually sketch that out by using more dirt blocks and just kind of stack them up and make a wireframe of the building itself until I've gotten the general shape down. So I'm going to do that next, and I'll see you in a minute. I've now spent a little time sketching out the elevation of the new building. And as I approach from kind of the side, you can see a little bit of how this is turning out. I've taken the floor plan, which I showed last time, and have now extended things upward. And the way I'm thinking about it is this whole wing of the house is going to be just a ground floor plus a flat roof, which will have maybe some garden stuff, maybe some flower stuff, but kind of green and growing sorts of things over here. The main body of the house has this kind of cylindrical tower off to the side here, has this main back bulk of it, which is going to be dedicated to storage, I think, down below, and then maybe like a crafting room or crafting machines, or I haven't quite decided about for the top here. This center area will be the entrance hall, and so we'll have the same kind of open floor plan that my entrance hall has in the other house, except this time there's going to be a stairway that comes up and dominates the center of the room here. so that you wind up getting to the center and can go off in that direction, can go off in that direction, and then can step out onto the terrace, which is the top part of this building here. This is going to be the stairway that's going to come up and just kind of come out onto the terrace directly, so a little pepper pot sort of tower there. This tower here is going to be the kind of high point, and maybe the vantage point to go out and take a look around and see all of the surrounding area. And this tower over here, I haven't quite decided what to do with it yet, but the round shape on the end suggested that, hey, maybe as the elevation goes up, this becomes a tower rather than a bulky building. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, hey, maybe that surface goes in a bit. So we've got a square box here, and maybe the rectangle comes out along this line instead of this line. And I'll carve back that shape a little bit. And of course, that kind of observation is exactly why I do this with dirt blocks and only as a wireframe when I'm getting started on a building. Because oftentimes, seeing it in front of you, different things occur to you, and it's like, oh yeah, that would be much better this way or that way. I can also get a sense of like, how does the building wind up looking from the ground? So as I'm approaching here, I can see, okay, yeah, there's going to be sort of a low structure over this side, and as I come up to the front doorway here, I'm going to come in and have the big stairway in this space. I'll be able to come over here. So now that you realize this is sort of close to this flat area I've got out here, so maybe whatever I've got going on down there, whether it's some kind of flowers or gardening or maybe beekeeping or something like that, maybe that's what this room wants to be over here. To pass right through and go into the main storage area, I'm thinking lots of storage drawers up and down, maybe one bank of storage drawers where there's the storage drawers are kind of back to back, so I can walk around one side and I can walk around a middle aisle, and then I can walk around a final aisle here where there's two tall stacks back to back here. And then that gives me like a storage drawers controller that I can click on right here and be able to send everything into the storage drawers in the back. No matter what position things wind up going in, the storage drawers will sort them all out. And then up above, I was thinking, maybe machines, maybe a bedroom, maybe other smaller crafting kinds of things like the potions and whatnot. Then over here, this will be the staircase that goes up, but I'm also thinking it'll be the staircase that goes down. And I'll have this actually be a spiral staircase that goes all the way down to bedrock, so that I can start branching out and having mines looking for different metals, or quarries looking for stone to build the house with. And then I've got a couple of nice big rooms over here. And one of the things I was thinking I'd try and do is using some of using the forestry power chain, where you take a lot of products from the farms and you basically make biofuel out of them and then burn the biofuel for power. So maybe this house will be powered by forestry biofuel. Or maybe I'll think of something else. It's also really high up on a hill. I'm at elevation 117 now, and if I go to the highest point, I'm at elevation 142. So being this high up, it actually makes it a really great place for windmills from immersive engineering. So maybe I'll set myself up to have a bank of windmills, maybe along that face over there, and draw the power for this building that way. Lots of choices still to make, but I figured I'd take a stop here and go over what I've got so far. Some of the next decisions I'll have to make, have to do with what materials am I going to use to build this thing. Normally I would use the stone that's available underneath the base, and then having made this staircase going down, I can start quarrying out in various directions and picking up whatever native stone is down there. So maybe my next step is to do that, is to build myself that tunnel going all the way down to bedrock and see what sorts of stone are available easily in this area, and then have some thinking about what materials I want to use. Another option I was considering is making this more of a modern looking building and doing a lot of the facade in glass, and having, where the wireframe is now turn into just some kind of simple, plain, maybe stone, maybe wood, but something with a very simple texture and a simple color, so that I can wind up filling in a lot of the detail with glass. Actually, the more I say that, the more that kind of appeals to me, the way that things are set up here. So maybe I'll do some thinking about that and go find lots of sand and make some glass. Obviously, this being my second building too, things are a lot easier, right? I don't have to gather so much materials from elsewhere because I've already got them, and I've already got them stored away in my house back over there. But normally I would be building power systems and adding that even before I've really filled out the house completely. And I might even go so far as to put in some temporary walls so that mobs can't just wander in and light up the inside of the house, so that I don't have dangerous things creeping up on me while I'm in the middle of trying to build something. And so that I don't have to be quite so particular about going to sleep each and every night. Actually, just taking note of the time, I think I'll cut off this video here and pick up from here next time. So, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more like this one, hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you later.